here to do my prediction video for UFC Fight Night Vanzant versus Waterson. Let's start at the bottom. The first fight is Bojan, hard to say his last name, versus Sultan Alavi. And Sultan, he's a decent striker, but he's never beaten anybody good. And I know in his UFC debut, he got knocked out by somebody who isn't a great striker. Bojan, to me, looks like he's well-rounded everywhere. He's not amazing anywhere, but he looks decent everywhere. And I just think he's going to be more consistent, and I think he's fought and beaten better people. And I think his record's like 2-0 or 1-1. I think he might have a draw. I can't remember if he won his last fight or not, but he's looked decent, and I think Bojan's probably going to get a decision in this one. Next is Hector Sandoval versus Freddie Soriano. And I think they're kind of trying to give Freddie a win here. I know he's really popular in like South America and stuff like that. And I think his wrestling is super, super good. I think, he's 2-1 overall in his MMA career. All of his fights are in the UFC. He's still developing, but he kind of looks like a smaller version of Yoel Romero. But I'm going to pick Freddie. I say he probably wins this fight by decision or TKO. Hopefully he keeps improving because he looks like a solid prospect. But just like with Yoel, he's pretty old, so who knows how long he has. Next is Eddie Wineland versus Takeya Mizugaki. And I personally hate fights like these where it's two guys that I like a whole lot. And it's pretty fucking obvious what the UFC is trying to do. They're trying to get these two guys that are close to the end of their career, and they're trying to either cut them or cut their pay grade down by a shitload because they want these guys. They want one of these guys to lose so they can either get rid of him or pay him basically nothing to keep him around. And it's just fucked up in my opinion. And I think these guys are basically the exact same fighter down to everything they do. I think Eddie's just a little bit more unorthodox. But I think takedown defense, their striking ability, and their speed is all about the same except for one big difference. And I think that's that Freddie has much more one-punch knockout power. And I think that's just going to be the big difference in this fight. I think they're both probably going to land about the same amount, but Eddie's just going to do more damage. And he'll probably either win a decision or get a TKO sooner or later. Like I said, it's just unfortunate because I really like both these guys, and I just feel like it's really fucked up what the UFC is doing. Anyway, next is Lisa Smith versus, I can't say this chick's first name, but it's Aldana, her last name. And Aldana looks like a better striker than Lisa Smith. Lisa Smith is super up and up. She's not very consistent, and I feel like they're just trying to get rid of her and get this new prospect chick in. So I think the new prospect chick will probably win by TKO. Next is Josh Emmett versus Scott Holtzman. And to me, Josh Emmett looked amazing in his UFC debut, but I can't remember if he broke his arm or he cracked a rib. But he ended up losing the third round pretty badly. He still won the fight by split decision. But he looked amazing before he got hurt. His striking and his takedown defense are both super good. I know he trains on a Team Alpha Male. And I think Scott Holtzman, this is going to kind of be like the Drew Dober fight. I think he'll have a hard time taking this guy down. And when he does, I don't think he'll be able to control him. And I think Josh Emmett's the better striker of the two, so he'll probably end up winning a decision. Next is James Muntasiri versus Alex Morano. And to me, Alex didn't look that amazing against Kyle Noak. I thought Kyle Noak won that fight. It was really close. He showed some decent jiu-jitsu, but his takedown defense and his takedown offense weren't super amazing. I think James Muntasiri is not the greatest grappler, but he's really big and strong, and he's hard to take down. I also think his striking is way better than Alex's is, and I just think Alex is going to have a really hard time taking him down, and I think sooner or later James is going to win by knockout. So that's just how I see it. Next fight is Bryan Barberena versus Colby Covington. And to me, Bryan Barberena, he's had some upset wins and he's looked good in all of them. But I just feel like in all those fights, they look like winnable fights. In this fight against Colby Covington has that one loss against Warley Alvarez that he just got caught in a guillotine really early. Aside from that, he's undefeated. I think he's like 10-1, and 5 of those wins were in the UFC. And I just think his wrestling is too good for Bryan. I've seen Bryan lose a fight already to, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Jake Allenberger's younger brother. But, he's shown that he doesn't have the greatest takedown defense, and he's not the greatest at getting back up. I mean, he has good cardio and is able to consistently work, but he's not, you can take him down pretty easily, that's the best way to put it. And I think Colby Covington's got the conditioning where he can consistently take this guy down and just control him for 3 rounds. I don't think this fight's going to be very exciting, but I just see Bryan Barberena getting control for 3 straight rounds. Next is Cole Miller versus Mizuto Hirota. And these guys are both kind of old. I think it's pretty obvious what they both want to do. Mizuto just wants to stand and knock Cole out. Cole wants to take him down and submit him. the big difference is Cole Miller's conditioning's been looking like shit more and more as the years go on. And Mizuto Hirota's biggest strength is he's always been able to keep a decent pace for all 3 rounds no matter what. No matter how high or how low the pace is. And I just think that's going to be the difference. Mizuto Hirota's only been submitted like once or twice, and one of them was to Shinya Aoki, who's like one of the best jiu-jitsu guys ever at 55. And aside from that, he's never been knocked out. So I think he's the better striker. I think he's got really good wrestling and takedown defense and all that. And I think sooner or later, he's just going to find the knockout shot and TKO Cole Miller. Next is Luis da Silva versus Paul Craig. And Paul Craig looks like a really solid up-and-comer from Scotland. And this is at 205, which I'm so fucking grateful that they finally have some talent. But I just don't think he has the striking skills to stand with Silva. And I don't think Silva's jiu-jitsu is as... He's got underrated jiu-jitsu in my opinion. I think even if Craig could get this fight to the ground, I think Silva could kind of weather the storm down there and eventually get this fight back to his feet and win by TKO. So this is how I see it. Next is Alan Jouban versus Mike Perry. And it's 2 strikers. They're both... It's kind of like Mike Perry's forward motion, get hit with 2 or 3 strikes to land one big one. And Alan Jouban is just going to try to circle this guy and, hit him with shots on the outside and stuff like that. My biggest thing is Alan Jouban's been knocked out a couple times, and Mike Perry's never been finished. He's 9-0, and all of his wins are by knockout. And I just feel like Mike Perry sooner or later is going to walk in on him and eventually hit him with like a big hook and knock him out. Just because, like I said, Alan Jouban's record is like 15-4, and 2 of his losses were by knockout already. So, like I said, sooner or later I think Mike Perry's going to walk in on him and hit him with a big hook. Next, we got Uriah Faber versus Brad Pickett. And I know Uriah Faber said he's retiring after this fight. I'm pretty sure Brad Pickett will too. I just don't see any way Uriah Faber loses this fight. I think his wrestling is just so much better than Brad Pickett's is. I say he hits takedown after takedown, if it even lasts that long. And I think sooner or later he's going to win by rear naked choke or guillotine, probably in the first round. Next is Sage Northcutt versus Mickey Gall. And Sage Northcutt, he's a decent striker with decent offensive wrestling. But his defensive wrestling is shit. I mean, in his last fight, he got taken down almost every single time that guy tried to take him down. And off of his back, he didn't really look that amazing. If that guy's jiu-jitsu was a little bit better, I think he would have submitted him in that second round with the Kimura. He basically had it. He just didn't know how to finish it. You know what I mean? I feel like Mickey Gall is a better jiu-jitsu guy than that guy was, and I think his wrestling's better too. And his striking game, in all honesty. He's just a better version of the guy that Sage Northcutt just fought. And that fight was super close. I thought Sage just kind of eked out the decision in that one. So I think Mickey Gall is going to hit a takedown sooner or later, and when he does, I think he's just going to dominate Northcutt on the ground. As long as he doesn't get caught with a big punch super early, I just see him winning by submission, probably in the end of the first round. Next is Paige VanZant versus Michelle Waterson. And Paige VanZant to me is not super amazing. I think that she's really athletic and she has cardio that can go on and on. But her basic technique is not there, in my opinion. In her last 2 fights we saw it, against Rose, she really couldn't use any of her flashy stuff, and Rose just beat her with technical striking and better ground game. And then her last fight, even though Paige won it with that flying head kick, she was getting her ass beat that whole first round. They were just boxing with each other, and that chick was just lighting her up, in my opinion, that whole first round. And I feel like Michelle Waterson has very solid technical striking. It's just, can she avoid that big crazy shot? And I do think she will avoid the big crazy shot. I think she'll be able to kind of control Paige, not as well as Rose did, but I think in that range. And I think Michelle Waterson will probably win a decision. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe.